You are 35 years old and you've ruined your life beyond repair. At least that's what I told myself every night for months. And if you're like me and you've pondered every single bad decision you've made over the years, congratulations, you're human. But that doesn't mean you should give up on yourself just yet. We all make those mistakes, whether we want to admit it or not. We kind of just try to doll up our lives, make it look pretty for the gram and all these things. But truth be told, we have these times where we just totally screw something up. And I did that for a long time. So here's a little bit of background on what I mean. Back in my 20s, you couldn't tell me nothing. I thought I knew everything about everything. Not necessarily out loud, but internally, I knew that I wasn't going to take advice very well from people who had already had those experiences that I was headed toward, particularly in my early career years. When I was first getting ready to graduate with my bachelor's degree, I was considering going into TV or maybe radio, things like that. But all I kept hearing was radio's dead, you never get into TV, and those kinds of things. And instead of really going toward people who would be more supportive, I was more so focused on, okay, well, plan A is not going to work, so let me just go ahead and try to find plan B. The problem is, plan B didn't exist. There was none. And I guess you could say I've been wandering ever since. And funny enough, I ended up finding my way back to making content and creating and just being in front of the camera and different things like that, regardless of how small it might be starting. And the reason why that was such a colossal mistake for me was, again, I've been wandering. And in that wandering, I found myself in positions where I haven't been living up to my own full potential. I've been just doing what I can to get by if I'm lucky. And over time, I've found myself in those kinds of positions where it's just something to just do something. And I haven't been happy per se. And I haven't been who I am to the core. And being who I am and the way that I'm built, that's just a colossal mistake. And this just led to so many other issues, just deep, dark bouts with depression, deep, dark bouts with anxiety. And it's just, you just think to yourself, where's this coming from? And when you kind of get to the root, when you do your work on yourself and you find out what's buried deep beneath, you learn that you haven't been true to yourself the entire time. And I think that's probably the biggest mistake I ever made. And not only for myself, but for my family, for my wife, my kids. They don't see me living in who I authentically am. I'm proud to say that I'm working on that and I'm getting towards that point, but I regret that it's taken this long to get towards that direction. And while I've been working through that season of wandering, it's just had me replaying things in my head over and over and over again until one day I thought to myself, okay, how long are we going to keep telling the same story? You keep telling the same story, it's going to keep repeating out loud in your life. And it took a long time and nearly losing everything I love to figure it out finally. I had to learn that I needed to separate my failure or my mistakes from my identity. And for me, that was incredibly difficult to do. Why? Because I think a lot of times we find our identity in our pain. And we get so wrapped up in the story of how we got to where we are, we don't see a way out. Or the way out looks too difficult. And so rather than doing the hard part, the hard work of getting out, do the easy thing and stay in because it's comfortable. And known hells are so much more comfortable than unknown heavens. And until I flipped that switch in my mind, I stayed stuck. And if you don't flip that switch in your mind, you're going to stay stuck too. And I really don't want that for you. Like, part of the story I was telling myself was that, one, I knew better. Like, you should have did this, you should have did that. And we get so wrapped up in the shoulds of our life that we don't recognize the things that we can do or that we've succeeded at already. And sometimes the smallest step is really the biggest because the small steps are the ones that lead to the big turnaround. And that was something that I had a very hard time recognizing before because I just wanted that big leap to happen right away. And You get so focused on that big leap, you just can't appreciate any progress at all. So that's another switch I had to flip in my mind, which is really appreciating those small victories, because they really do add up at the end of the day. It's not what we want to hear, it's not sexy, it's not cool, but that's where the victory really lies. Then the other thing I had to do was just to learn to tell myself a new story. I had to reframe where I had come from, because I had really locked in on my failures being the destination, and that just wasn't true. And it's not true for you. I know it sounds cliche, but that's really what it is. Your failures are not your identity, and it's just reframing that as a stepping stone to finding where you really want to go. You fail your way to success. It really is just like that. So, where am I going with this? I want to give you 3 actionable steps to break out of this muck of regret that you find yourself in. Step 1, stop replaying the tape. You've been there already. You know what happened. It's time to break the loop. Because every time you play the loop, you're not going to feel any better. You're not learning anything new. Nothing's going to change. The mistake was already made. Okay, you made the mistake. Now what? When you catch yourself rehearsing that old BS that you've already forgiven yourself for, even if you have to say it out loud, stop yourself. Break the loop. If you got to say it out loud, just tell yourself, I already know what I did wrong, and I'm working towards fixing it, and I'm going to get it right next time. That's simple. Step 2, do something differently today that your past self wouldn't do. And here's what I mean. It doesn't have to be anything big per se, but it could be something as small as saving $5 instead of spending it, or making that phone call, sending that email, doing that application, whatever it needs to be. Just do something that would be the total opposite that you would have done in the past to make yourself regret it. And just kind of go from there, and just really making sure that you can kind of course correct in those small ways. Again, it doesn't have to be big. Make those little tiny steps to do something differently that you would not have done in the past, and that goes a long way. And step 3, stop looking for applause. Here's what I mean. It's so easy to get caught up in other people saying hooray for you and cheering you on whenever you're trying to get your life right, but that's where I think a lot of people get stuck. That's where I got stuck. Just waiting for somebody to validate me and kind of cheer me on and give me flowers before I had earned it. Yeah, getting cheered on is nice and it feels good in the moment, but when you live for validation from other people, there's always going to be a hole in you, because one day you'll have it, the next day you won't. All it takes is for somebody to disagree with the course that you're going on, and then you're in a tailspin. Don't do that. And I found myself in that pitfall as well, just waiting for validation that was never going to come, or getting addicted to it when it did arrive. So be okay with being your own biggest cheerleader and going it alone, because when you've got a purpose that you're walking toward, oftentimes the road is very lonely. You're gonna get laughed at, looked at crazy, blown off, written off, the whole nine. I've experienced all of it. The key thing is just knowing that you're staying true to yourself and what God's leading you toward, and just to keep walking and tell yourself a new story. Yeah, you know you failed in this area. Yeah, you know you screwed up that thing and you regret it, but living in that regret is what got you here in the first place. And time to get up, time to move on. And it took me a long time to learn that lesson and be okay with going by myself and just walking on my own. And I hope that you can realize that too, that you can do it and that you can be okay with walking toward your purpose by yourself, because at the end of the day, it's yours. And everybody doesn't always have to understand that. You just keep going toward it and you'll make it. Now, no matter where you are in life, young, old, we've all had that moment where we just look back and we just think to ourselves, man, I really pissed down my leg on that one. But you can get up from that, but you have to choose to do things differently and change the story that you're telling yourself. A lot of people won't agree. A lot of people won't understand. A lot of people won't even cheer you on. But at the end of the day, it's your journey. And you have you to look in the mirror and be satisfied with at the end of the day. Because when it's all said and done and the dust settles, none of those people are going to be there at the end of your own journey. So pick up the journey, get walking. Of course, correct and do whatever you got to do to make yourself feel whole. And it's really in your hands. And that should be empowering for you. And if this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And I really want to hear your stories. And just let's collaborate on it. And I want to hear more about what you guys think, what you've been through, and what you're doing to kind of get course corrected in your own life and just shedding the weight that you think you're carrying by yourself, because you're not alone. I've been there, and so many other people have been there. And there's so many people that are out there that would really rather not admit it, but they're going through it too. But I say all that to say you can get free, and you do have the power to do so, but it's up to you to do so. Anyway, looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Take care.